Joining us now in studio, CNBC's Squawk Box host, our good friend Andrew Ross Sorkin. Andrew, the man of the hour, a very busy man at the New York Times Deal Book Summit yesterday. Incredible list of guests that you interviewed personally. We got to start with Elon Musk, though. Give us a little background, a little color, how it came together, and then we'll play the bite people are talking about.
Well, look, he came to do an interview. It was going to be his first interview since, and it was planned a long time ago, but this was really his first interview since the comments that he had made on Twitter, which had gone viral, had been condemned around the world as being anti-Semitic. Advertisers were fleeing the platform. Of course, he then made that trip to Israel, and he literally flew back from Israel. I think he went to Texas and then came to New York and sat with us. And it was a remarkable conversation insofar as at one moment he left me speechless. We're going to probably show you that in just a moment. But he also was one of the first times that he has ever apologized publicly, not only about the comment that he made, but about anything. I mean, I think if you cover Elon Musk, you know Elon Musk, he is not somebody who expresses remorse. And so to actually see him do that was something. And I also think the whole conversation, and I know everybody's focused on the advertiser piece, and we're going to show you that. If you can was an opportunity to see inside his mind. You saw, Walter Isaacson, who wrote the biography, has been at this table many times, has talked about the many Elon Musks, the thoughtful Einstein, next Steve Jobs version of Elon Musk, the demon mode of Elon Musk, the depressed, and I think you got to see all of that.
Yeah, so the moment Andrew's talking about here, advertisers, many big advertisers have fled X, and he basically said, bring it on. He said it differently.
And just to give a little bit more context, one of the other people that was interviewed yesterday that I interviewed was Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney. And I said to Bob Iger, you've stopped advertising on X. Why? He said, look, that comment that Elon Musk had said about what he called the actual truth was something that upset him, and he didn't think it was the right platform for him. I thought that Elon Musk would say that he wanted to get Bob back. He wanted to get Disney back on the platform. Here's what he had to say. That this had been said online. There was all of the criticism. There was advertisers leaving. We talked to Bob Iger today.
I hope they stop.
You hope?
Don't advertise.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go yourself.
But
go yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is.
And he specifically invoked Bob Iger's name, directing some of the comments that way. So sort of playing the victim as if they're just arbitrarily deciding not to. Well, and he said X will collapse.
He said X will collapse.
And when it does, it will be the fault of the advertisers. And it will be the fault of the advertisers,
and that the planet will see that it's the fault of the advertisers. And I pushed back on him and I said, look, a lot of the planet may look and say, Elon, it is your fault because these advertisers don't feel comfortable being there. And we had a long discussion about what it means to be liked or disliked. He says he doesn't care. He said, bring on the hate. But then we got into a whole conversation about trust. How much does it matter to be trusted? Given the power and influence that he has, not just when it comes to X, but the fact that he sells cars you're going to get in his vehicles. SpaceX has deals with governments. Starlink is a communications device that's now being used in the middle of wars, Ukraine, Russia, Israel. So it was fascinating to see all sides of it.
There's all that genius so often overshadowed by stuff like we saw yesterday. So Andrew also spoke with J.P. Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon. During that conversation, Dimon appeared to endorse a Republican presidential candidate. Take a look.
What do you think of the two leading candidates right now?
Oh, God, I'm not going to tell you.
You're not going to tell me.
I did come out and make a nice statement about Nikki Haley.
You did. You've been talking to Nikki Haley.
Very liberal, yes, I have. Even if you're a very liberal Democrat, I urge you, help Nikki Haley too. Get a choice on a Republican side that might be better than Trump.
So he's been advising her in some way, but
I think they've actually only had one or two conversations. I think he looks at the situation, and I don't know ultimately if he is, and he's historically been a Democrat, or at least voted as a Democrat. I don't know if he dislikes Biden unto himself, but I know that he dislikes Trump. We should also mention, by the way, Trump is now going after him this morning on Truth Social.
Of course.
As you might imagine.
Yeah, interesting. The business community seems to have found its alternative, and it is Nikki Haley.
Nikki Haley is getting, I mean, if there's a horse they're betting on, that's the horse.
One more for you. Kevin McCarthy was almost buried the lead in some ways here, that the man who was Speaker of the House not so long ago told you yesterday effectively he's thinking about getting out of Washington and soon.
Well, I thought there were two things that he said. I thought that was fascinating, that he may leave Washington. And I think that's a very, very real possibility. I would not be surprised if we saw a real headline on that in the next week. He has till next Friday, actually, to file if he's going to file for re-election. But the other thing he said, which was just surprising in its either candor or just straightforward directness, when I asked him about the conversations he's had with Biden and the issues around Biden's age. And he said that he did not believe that Biden was the same Biden that he used to deal with. Talked about doing the debt negotiations, claiming that Biden had to read off of cards. I mean, it was, you know, a lot of people don't like to, I mean, age has been a very uncomfortable conversation for a lot of people, but he really went after Biden in a way that I had never seen. And then I interviewed Vice President Harris, who was there later in the afternoon, and effectively played that back to her. And of course, she then went after him and said that that's not something that she sees. So,
I mean, presidents read notes in meetings, but I think they're going to lean into the issue of age. Joe, circling back to Elon Musk there in the bomber jacket with Andrew yesterday, what was your take on that?
Well, I want to get to that. I do have to say with Kevin McCarthy, I have sat and spoken with Kevin McCarthy, and I have sat and spoke with Joe Biden, and I can tell you, Kevin McCarthy is no Joe Biden. Kevin McCarthy is not in the same league. It's single A ball versus just a superstar. When it comes to politics, I've always said Jeb Bush was the most impressive politician I've been around as far as a governor and governing. I will say Joe Biden, when you talk to him about foreign policy, it's just like this. You talk to foreign leaders who talk to Joe Biden about foreign policy and debate with him. Still, now they say he's on top of his game, and they're all surprised because people like Kevin McCarthy spread this nonsense about him. Then they sit and meet him, and they see a tough negotiator across the table. But first of all, let's talk about Elon. Here's a guy that I know there are a lot of people that are saying he could lose $40 billion with X. Here's a guy, Andrew, explain to our viewers, who's worth $250 billion, who gets wealthier by the year, who's going to continue to get wealthier by the year. And while money may mean something to him as far as just like sort of competing with the richest people in the world, people that know him well say, the guy wears the same white T-shirt every day. He is not driven by the things that drive others. So if he says, I'll lose $40 billion and I don't really care about it, you can almost believe him. Watching that clip.
I agree with you. I don't believe, by the way, that he will let this company fail or go under. I think he cares about it too much. I think you could see it. And that was what was so interesting about this interview. You could physically, palpably see how much he cares. I would also say, and look, the economics of X, I think, are complicated. But you look at all of the interest and people on X still. I mean, they're actually, I mean, the advertisers may not be there, but people are. And there's an interesting sort of juxtaposition there. And whether he knows something that we don't, which is that at some point maybe advertisers actually say, well, if that's where the people are, I'm going to go there. I don't know. We're going to see.
And finally, I want to follow up on the Jamie Dimon conversation there. You know, in 2016, you could find a lot of CEOs, a lot of people on Wall Street that would say, let's give Trump a chance. You could even see that through 2018. I'm wondering, as you see one CEO and one billionaire after another sort of push away from Trump because he's too toxic post January the 6th. I'm just curious, generally, how toxic is Donald Trump on Wall Street? How how much less likely is it that a CEO will go out saying, I'm on Team Trump in 2024?
You know, I think he demonstrably is toxic to so many on Wall Street and so many around the country. Having said that, I think that, and we've talked about the backlash that's happened actually because of DeSantis and others around business. And in a way, some of the CEOs, I think, were more willing to be outspoken as it relates to Donald Trump in the past than they are today. That they're even more worried because they look at the country, they look at these polls on a national basis, even on a swing state, and they say, I'm scared that if I come out against Donald Trump on the basis of character or anything else, that there's going to be a backlash on my business. I do believe that
Aren't
they
these
believe
the
that.
masters of the universe, though? Never afraid of anything? Come out and say what you believe all the time?
Well, you know, all masters have masters. And I think that, you know, the idea that he may become the president does scare them, because part of it is if he becomes the president, what kind of retribution will actually take place?
Man, what a deal. What a day it was at DealBook yesterday. Incredible work. CNBC's Andrew Ross Sorkin. Thanks so much,
Hey,
Andrew.
thanks
Good
for
to
having
see
me.
you.